Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back for another week of our Accelerated ID series. My name is Shawntay Skjoldager, and today I am co hosting with my partner in crime, Miss Katie Short. So, today we're going to be talking to you about some of the insights, some of the takeaways, or the themes that Katie and I picked up while we were at the ATD conference in California a couple of weeks ago. Insights are a personal thing, right? Everybody reacts to the information that they hear differently. We all internalize things, based on what our jobs are. So things that become themes or stand out to us, it's really all individualized and personalized. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Feel free to chime in as we go. We definitely want to hear from you. Katie, is there anything you would want to add to that?
No, I think it would be really nice to hear the other perspectives here. I know that our insights are kind of the overall, but anybody that went would love to hear like what your other big takeaways were if you had anything to add here.
Awesome. And it's probably no surprise to you all that ChatGPT and AI were a huge insight and theme for Katie and I at ATD. There were several sessions on ChatGPT. In fact, on my very first day, I was going to attend a session on a Sunday, and I had mapped out early the AI sessions because I really wanted to learn as much as possible about how this is showing up in our space. So I made it a plan to attend as many of these as possible. So on day one, Sunday, I make my way over to the convention center early just to find out that it was already standing room and closed. I could not get in because I wasn't the only person that's interested. This is such a huge thing. It's everywhere. And then later in the week, some of these sessions were in ballrooms or half of ballrooms, and they were either full, nearly full. This is a really hot topic. So we're just gonna talk for a second. And if you have opinions, again, drop those into the chat. So we want to talk about what do we think Chat GPT and these other AI tools mean for our L&D space? What does it mean for us as an instructional designer? How do we think this is going to show up in our work, and how do we think it might impact our work? So I'll pause and I'd love to hear from you, Katie. What do you think? What are you seeing, or what are you expecting?
It will definitely be an interesting. I think this transition period will be um, an interesting one as we kind of like navigate just getting started and moving into just a different era of working in general. This is going to touch so many things. But it is very interesting to see that, especially at ATD, that people were very, very interested in how it will affect them, and I think that's what everyone was really looking for, is this answer that no one has a crystal ball and no one can see, but everyone was really looking for, how will this affect me? How will this affect my job and my industry? And we just don't know that yet, and it'll be fun to see the changes, but it will be exciting to see it really permeate into making things. We'll talk more about making it faster, just expediting processes and taking out some of the slower parts of how everyone works and speeding those things up, making them faster. So,
Absolutely.
but it will be interesting to see this transition as we get into this new era of work in the future.
And I think that it's safe to say, or at least this is my interpretation, and you may feel different. So if you do, let me know. It's safe to say it's not if it's going to impact your job, it's when or how it will impact your job, right? So all of our jobs, I think, are going to be impacted in some way by AI. Some of those administrative tasks that we do are things that can be easily automated by machine. And I think that we've slowly been seeing this anyway. You've got tools like Zapier that have been integrating different systems and automating things. We've seen like auto corrections, right? Or tools like we've been using in our business here at the Instructional Design Company. We've been using Timmy, which is an AI based transcription service for several years now. So this now it's just like we're hitting this new evolution of how AI is going to show up for us with new tools. And I'll talk to you here in just a minute about one of my favorite tools whenever we talk about one of our other themes. So I'll save that for there. But definitely, how many of you are already using AI? So if you've used ChatGPT or you've used an other AI based tool,
If you talk to Siri on your iPhone, if you talk
yeah,
to, like we've been talking to Siri for a long time now, but now this is really permeating other um, avenues. But it's something at first it was like, oh, this is kind of freaky, but now it's something that we take as helpful as a helpful tool, and I think that will be kind of the trend.
right? Like Alexa, too.
Yeah.
And then I saw somebody posted on Facebook the other day that they have a robot dog named Astro, right? A couple of weeks ago, I was doing an interview for one of my clients. And in that interview, I was asking those candidates how they were incorporating Chat GPT into their work. So I definitely think that that is a trend that we're going to be seeing in our accelerator community, which is the community for our students in our instructional design and tech accelerator system. At the was it? It's next week, actually, next Tuesday. Our career coach that we have, who works with LinkedIn Recruiter, she is going to be talking about how you can use Chat GPT to optimize your resume. So we're seeing AI show up in so many different ways. And there are so many tools that are going to be coming. Even in ChatGPT, if you have a paid account, you can add on plugins. And some of these plugins give you more options that you can use to help facilitate your work. So I love seeing that many of you are using it. All right. So I'll turn this one over to you, Katie.
Yeah, so like we were kind of alluding to, is that as much as AI will touch everything and it will evolve, it kind of like we saw at ATD is that there was just a hanging question that I feel like that everyone was kind of waiting to hear is how will this affect me and in what way? And it could feel very scary. So, for example, we have seen statistics like the World Economic Forum that says that 85 million jobs globally will be replaced by AI in the next few years. But on the other side of that, and don't panic, that's not something to be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be absolutely replaced. On the other side of that, the same report that said that indicated that 97 million new roles will be created. So while some jobs will go away or change or evolve, there will be new spots for what will eventually be our working world. So, in the face of this transition, in the face of how much this might touch our industry or many, many other industries, it will just be like anything else in that we have to evolve with a change that's happening and learn how to reskill what we already know, take what we already know, which can't be replaced, and apply that in a new way and apply that in a way that makes sense for our industry and our field and any other ones for that matter. So, reskilling, especially with the presence of AI, is just that we're taking what we already know and the knowledge that we already have and expediting things, making it easier on us and on our process and on anything that we might touch as an output or a deliverable. What do you think, Shante, though, about this reskilling?
I think we're already doing it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just like in the last 6 weeks, I feel like I'm already like knee deep or neck deep in a reskilling process. I've been hearing about AI. My husband had played with it. He had told me some different things, in the way that he had played with ChatGPT or OpenAI. And I was listening and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's cool," but I didn't do anything with it. And then I opened up the tool one day. I was like, "Well, I've got to go figure this out. I'm seeing people post about this. So let me go explore this." And I'm in there and I type a little something and I'm like, "What? Okay, let me play some more. Let me ask it
Yeah.
this question. Let me ask it that question." And then since then, I went to my local chapter of ATD, the ATD Suncoast chapter. They put on a training and brought Josh Cavalier in, who has you know, making it his focus to really understand Chat GPT. And he did this training. And there I learned that this is really all about the prompt, right? And so now I've learned how to write prompts. And I still have a lot more work to do around writing prompts. But now, because I know how to write prompts, I can create, like, I can say that that's a skill that I have. That's a new skill that I have.
Sure.
And then my new favorite tool, which is Descript, and we could talk about that when we here in just a second. I think I learned that like a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, and that is a tool that just it's mind blowing in what all it can do, but it really makes my life a whole lot easier and makes parts of my work just like, wow, this is fun to do because I get to use this tool to help me do it. But yeah, so I think that we're already in reskilling. And I think that, I constantly have my eye on like, okay, what else can we do? I was in a meeting on Monday with a vendor who is helping me with an LMS platform, and she was using a tool called Firefly. And, so Firefly, we were in this Zoom call and it says Shawntay, it said Michelle, and it said Firefly. So Firefly was in our Zoom conference and was capturing the notes of everything that we were saying while we were going through it.
Yeah, it'll spit you out, like, trends, like, what
Yeah.
will not yeah,
Yeah, like the
crazy.
themes, the buckets.
Mhm.
I'm like, "Whoa, that's
Yeah,
really cool." So, I feel like there is just a lot of reskilling and new tools that are gonna come out of this, and it's exciting, and it can be scary if we keep our heads tucked in the ground like, like we're an ostrich and we're not coming up and embracing the new technology. It's here, so it's a matter of what can we do with it to help us in our jobs versus ignoring it. So I think I probably way over talked on that. Yes, I totally think that we're reskilling, and I think we're going to be doing a lot of reskilling.
I agree, and I think, I heard a really good analogy about it, whenever we had another training with a client just about this earlier this week is, there was a lot of fear around moving things from this analog version to a digital in the world. There was in any, like, big transition, people had a lot of fear about how it would affect them. And things changed. Some industries really got bogged down or didn't move forward, and some really developed into something new, and new things sprouted up out of that. So I think we're just in that time where we are all gonna need to move forward. And I think that it's especially helpful for us as L&D professionals that we have this basis and knowledge and a foundation of what we in building that depths of knowledge and then applying this to this new thing that's might feel like, oh, this has a lot of implications for the future, but it has a lot of really exciting ones, which we'll also get into.
I agree. And then I think another theme that we saw is that it's about faster, more productive, more efficient, right? So
Yeah.
with AI, it means that you can do more, so you're more productive. You can be faster and you can be more efficient because it's doing some of those very tedious tasks for you that, used to take us a lot of time.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that really stood out for me whenever I was looking at this is that this can really expedite. Like if you're using the Addy model, and it doesn't matter what model that you are using, but we're going to talk about Addy. If you're in that analysis phase or that design phase or prototyping phase, like you can really use some of these AI tools to help you generate like that starter copy. And I don't ever mean for someone to go into Chat GPT, make something, copy that, and then that becomes your content. But it's a really great way to help you brainstorm information or to help you fill in the gaps or bridge gaps,
Yeah.
between what you know and what your stakeholder is asking for.
Or get
So,
away from a blank page. I think that's the
yeah.
biggest. Like, that can be a big scary thing for just, like, get started on something, just do this. This is, like, getting out of that blank page sort of paralysis.
Absolutely. In the perfect world, as instructional designers, we would always be paired with a subject matter expert to help us create our content. But
Yeah.
my experience, and I've worked as an instructional designer in higher ed, not for profit, and in corporate, and now as an agency owner. And more times than not, I have had to be both the subject matter expert and the instructional designer. So it became my job to go out and read some books, go out and search the internet, go out and talk to end users, right? So I had to do all of that up front because I didn't have a subject matter expert who could help me, generate content or help fill me in on the content. So now to me, it feels like Chat GPT could be almost like my surrogate subject matter expert on some different topics that could really help me with some of this content. And I can see that Joni is here with us,
Yeah.
and Joni is helping build a course for me right now. And we used Chat GPT to help us, come up with some ideas, help us figure out, what are the things that people are looking for related to this particular topic. So, what do you think, Katie? What do you think it's going to do to, like, if you go out right now and you Google, how long does it take to make an e learning course? You're going to get anywhere from like 60 hours to, 200 hours for an hour long e-learning. Or for a live presentation, maybe it says anywhere from 40 hours to 100 hours. What do you think these changes that we are going through right now, what do you think that's going to do to those timelines?
I think it will be very interesting to see how everyone uses a new timeline, but how we'll market ourselves and our skills in a way that makes use of them and how it will really shake out, like how accurate it will be. Like if we are going to balance accuracy with that saving the time, man, it is just I think it's going to be so much shorter, but I just don't know how much that will it won't be 0, I'll tell you that. Like, just like you said, it won't be a replacement for us, but it will be something that cuts down on the mundane, it cuts down on the research we would have to learn ourselves if we're our own SME, but, ooh, that will really change, an industry to create more stuff. Like, think about how much more product and content and courses will be available for all industries, whether it's higher ed or the corporate world. We'll just be able to create more, and that will be exciting.
Absolutely. And it's not even just like Chat GPT, right? So I want to tell you all about my favorite new tool called Descript. I am not an affiliate of Descript.
That's you might as well be.
I should be, right? I should be an affiliate of Descript, but I'm not. So I just discovered Descript a couple of weeks ago. I was actually listening to a podcast that Amy Porterfield was doing with some marketing person. I can't remember her name, but I remembered her talking about Descript, and I went and Googled it, and I was like, "It sounds interesting." But I didn't really capture, like, how great it was until I decided to download the free trial and give it a shot. So with Descript, you can take a video, you can upload it into Descript, and in less than a minute, you're gonna have a near perfect transcript. And I love that. It's better than the AI transcript service that I've been using and paying for the last few years. Can do your edits directly into Script. So I didn't have to put that video into my Adobe Premiere Pro software, you know, go in there and find my little cuts of what I was, like you have to go and listen and find it, make your cuts, do all that I want to do to it, and then export it. And exporting usually takes some time, right? Literally with Descript, I can go highlight the text. So if I wanted to get rid of a paragraph, I could just highlight it and boom, it edits it out of the video. If I wanted to get rid of my filler words, there is a feature where I say remove filler words, and I can either remove them manually or I can just say remove all of them and it will remove every filler word. If I want to improve the quality of my audio that's recorded, I can click Studio Sound and it goes through that audio and makes it sound like I recorded it in a studio. It's amazing. But yes, more efficient, more productive. There's going to be more and more tools out there that are just going to make our lives easier and make our work easier so that we can focus more on some of the stuff that we really like, which is the creativity side versus all that admin stuff.
Where we also saw, like, AI really dominating ATD and really being the big, conversation piece, I think I saw just as much sessions about, like, how to personalize things, how to connect, especially connect after returning to the workplace after COVID. I think there was a lot of sessions about, like, accountability and coaching on your team. So, where we have, like, this really big dominance of AI and how it will change everything. I think that there was just as much conversation around more than ever, we need to be human centered and focused on really taking care of clients and taking care of those participants and students, whoever we touch in terms of our products and services. And as much as AI will change the future, the human aspect of what we bring to the table, about what we can do, about how we can help people to learn and to move forward really can't be replaced. And I don't think it will, because as much as it's convenient and really well known as ChatGPT is so making things so much easier, it's also missing a lot. It feels very clinical. It feels very just kind of sanitized version, and you need that human aspect to bring it home for people. I think that human connectedness and personalization is also going to be just as important because people will also want that touch as well.
I totally agree. And you couple that with the fact that so many of us are working remote
Yep.
too. You know, so there's just like we're creating all these areas that have disconnect.
Yep.
So there is just so much opportunity for us to bring in heart and connectedness and personalizing learning experiences, to make people feel appreciated, loved on, So I think that if we can get some of these administrative pieces out of the way, or we can do things faster, then maybe it invites more opportunity in our meetings, to do check-ins or to have some virtual connectedness or get together as an organization in person. So
I
I
agree.
definitely think that heart piece is there and that we really need to be looking for opportunities, how to, prevent things from feeling sterile and making people feel, having that belonging component. So
Yes,
that's
and I agree. Where in our, on our resumes or on things, or we're trying to like, attract, protect prospective employers, and working in AI to your resume, I think there will also be as much balance on how can I connect? What is my superpower when it comes to connecting with people and helping people in terms of what I do? So I think there will be a need, and people will be looking for both of those, especially in our industry, which is encouraging. I feel like to feel like that we are in that space. So what I we also saw were some amazing keynote speakers,
course.
and they were super inspiring, and things that I didn't really know that I would have as a takeaway. One of them was from Leslie Odom Jr., who was an amazing singer. He was in Hamilton. He's in a bunch of things, but he has an incredible voice. And he kind of sat down and had an interview with someone who was kind of leading our keynotes, and he gave this great quote, which is always give 100%, but know that your 100% may vary from day to day. And I think that in general, if we are just like we talked about with this balance of human connectedness and heart, we also have to think about in our working world in how to take care of ourselves, and in no matter what environment that we have, that our mental health, our taking care of ourselves is going to be so, so important. And so for me, in terms of work and thinking about workload and thinking about what we do and thinking about our industry changing, I think it was just like a heavy thing to deal with, and know that it's okay. Like it's going to be fine. Your 100% is okay, but your 100% from day to day is not going to be the same because there's just life that gets in the way. What else would you say about that, Shante?
I was just gonna say that, talk about heart and connectedness. You could feel his heart
Oh,
whenever
yeah.
he was talking, like, he just exuded that, so and I love that quote too. It's almost like giving yourself permission, like, you don't have to be the top of your game every day because life happens, so just be whatever your 100% is for that day. It was like
Yep.
it felt so good, like, I I feel like I need to adopt that as a daily, like
100. I have it written on my computer, like a Post-it note, just because it's gives you the permission. Like yesterday, you might have hit 10 things. You were able to knock off 10 things on a to-do list. And today that just you got 3. And that doesn't make them any less important. It's just that like this is my 100% yesterday was 10 and today is 3 and that's what I can do. And it's an exciting it was just like a nice feeling, and it was a good feeling to feel like my industry might be totally changing and I have to reskill and everything's heavy, but it's okay. It's your 100% is gonna tackle it tomorrow, and that might be same today, or that's
It's
okay.
also good for us as leaders to recognize that the people that we are leading, their 100% is going to show up differently day to day
Very
too,
true.
right? Like we don't need to have the lens of judgment of like what's going on with her today, what's going on with him today. Just let people give their 100% and however that is looking and
And
shaping.
also for people that are learning, instructional
Yes.
design, they're aspiring instructional designers. They might be in the accelerator program or something else. Like feeling like you've got a big goal looming over, it can feel like it's just, I need to be further than I am. Yesterday, I was able to get through so much more, but today I'm just having a hard time. That's okay. Your 100% is going to maybe be back tomorrow, be different. So give yourself some space to do that. Our next big inspiration came from Priya Parker, and I hadn't heard of her before this conference. And her book is called The Art of Gathering. And it was all about finding the purpose in any gathering, whether that we think of gathering as like a social aspect, but it can be meetings, it can be anything throughout the day where we are connecting with others, finding that purpose, being a good host if you're the host, but also being a good guest. So in a meeting, what you bring to a meeting in terms of the guest, not necessarily hosting or leading, but it can have a big impact on what you get out of it. What else would you add about Priya?
I bought her book because whenever I went to the ATD bookstore, I kind of flipped through it and I was like, well, this is interesting. But I really had no idea who she was, and then I heard her speak, and, it just never really occurred to me, like, we're like, "Oh, let's have a birthday party," one of my friends recently turned 40, and I had a birthday for her here at my house, and then after hearing Priya speak from stage, I'm like, "I'm gonna go back and do a redo of that birthday party
Yeah.
because I really wanna do better for her." So, like, just, we tend to think of things in categories of like, let's have a meeting on X. Let's have a birthday party. We're going to do this baby shower instead of like creating like some social rules. Like she calls them pop ups. And in one of the examples that she gave is like, the purpose was to have a get together for moms, tired moms, I think it was. And, anyone that talked about their kids had to take a shot. So, the purpose wasn't to come together and like to moan and groan and complain about how hard life is. The purpose was, to create some space and, to give people a break. And the only way you can do that is really to separate, what's going on in your life. So they created pop-up rules. So I was like, oh, wow, that's amazing. I want to have a pop-up rule for everything.
Yes, and to stay on purpose. Like, you're gonna get so much more out of your gatherings or meetings or whatever it is, when you have this purpose and create an experience for that. So, it was all felt very good after hearing her and feeling like I need to start thinking about how I cultivate an experience for people that are in small meetings with my team, with clients, if you're with a prospective employer, like that feeling that you get, that human centered that we just talked about, it's gonna be so important, and I think it was very relevant for all of us.
Absolutely. And then last but not least,
Yes, and if I loved Adam Grant before, and when I heard he was gonna be on the docket, I was so excited. I listened to his, podcast, Work Life, and he has so many insights into just how the world works and how people are working, and also lots of examples where people didn't get it right and why, and people that really do get it right and why. And so, he talked a lot about rethinking and how we are rethinking, anything, how we can change our minds and how we can be stuck in our ways, but then rethink again. He has a book actually called Think Again. I think it was super relevant for, there you go. Thank you. Super relevant for the conference in general, which was so much about this new thing that's like heavy on people's minds, like AI and ChatGPT. And to think about it's okay to think about this differently. And to how can I wrap my head around this differently where it's not always going to be negative or feel like it's going to change things or bring fear around it. And then the other part that he thought, which was give and take, he talked about being a giver or a taker, and then also adding another layer of agreeableness. So in his research, he would talk about if you are an agreeable giver, you're probably going to say yes to everything. And having people on your team that are an agreeable giver means that you might not get the truth. They're just saying yes, they're giving, and they might say yes to everything. Versus being a disagreeable giver is someone that is there for the right reasons, but they might bring some challenge. And we need challenge in our life to be better, to see our blind spots, and to see where we need to maybe improve. So that was a big takeaway for me, to be a disagreeable giver, to bring some challenge, but always be in service to the person, to the project, and to the team.
And one other thing about that disagreeable giver, so it's not just in your workplace. Like he recommends that you have these in your village and your tribe too.
Yeah,
Like you want to create, like you want to have like 7 to 10 disagreeable givers that you can go and get real feedback from because,
honesty.
they're
Yeah.
going to tell you the truth about things that will help you grow and, make a better you. So I thought that that was really interesting. And then the other thing that Adam said, in addition to this, that really resonated with me, and probably even more so right now because I feel like I've been in a really judgy place. And so he talks about be a scientist, come
Mhm.
at things with curiosity instead of judgment. So delay judgment. He even recommends, like, tell somebody to, wait an hour before you judge me. Let me get through this and let me explain it to you so that you're kind of priming people to be thinking about things from a place of curiosity. So as I've been feeling judgy over the last week, I've been trying to channel that, like, how can I look at this from a place of curiosity instead of putting that person in a box about what I think their limitations are?
He was just great, and if you are interested, both of those books are amazing, and his podcast is really good. It's, if you're into as an instructional designer, if you're into leadership development, you wanna facilitate those or be a facilitator, it's just a really good perspective to have, when it comes to thinking about how you connect with other people, and how you're curious with other people, and changing your mind when you might need to, and thinking again about something. And I just remembered Adam Grant talked about feedback and getting feedback, and how he asks for feedback about everything. He's in a meeting, if has an interview with someone. I thought that was such an interesting thing to always ask for feedback because it helps you rethink about how you're doing something and move forward. Um, so it's a good transition here at the end. We always ask for your feedback, but it's nice to, on anything that you bring to the future, asking for feedback, like on a 1 to 10 scale. That was an interesting thing that he asked for.
And there were 2 layers of that feedback too, right? So, how did I do in this presentation? So you all could give Katie and I feedback and you could say, Shawntay, you were a 6. And then the second question is, how did I do receiving your feedback? And then, assuming that I receive it well, then I get my 10 out of 10 score. So it's like you may get negative feedback, but then the way that you take that feedback lets you turn around and get that positive score. So I thought that that was really cool. I was like, oh, maybe I'd be better at, some of the getting the feedback about some of my negative qualities. What can I do to improve? All right, my friends, we hope that you have an amazing day. Katie, I'm so glad I got to co facilitate with you today.
Thank you. It always goes by so fast.
It does. And honestly, I really enjoy doing the co facilitation way more than doing it by myself.
Me
So
too.
I have to
Definitely.
have you back more. All right, everyone. We will talk to you soon.